Hey guys, so I was editing a video to stick up on Tuesday, but I mean it was just like to do with thrifting, which is all good, but it didn't really mean a whole lot to me, and I think that it would be better to talk about something that actually is worthwhile talking about. And I thought that I'd just talk about anxiety. What is going on? Anyway, it would be good to talk about anxiety, and I'm gonna kind of make it like a mukbang type. Please just ignore the noise in the background. I'm gonna make it a mukbang type video just because, one, I've got my dinner here, and two, because I find it easier talking about these things when I'm not so focused on it, if that makes sense. So I thought that I would make some dinner, talk about anxiety and my experience with it, and give you the tea on what's going on. If you're wondering, this bad boy here is a vegan chicken nugget, and it's like the most delicious thing ever. Okay, let's get into it. I have struggled with anxiety for a huge part of my life. I don't actually know when it started, just because I just wasn't sure, or I wasn't aware of what I had, or why I was having these mood swings, or why I was getting angry over everything, or why you know, why I was just thinking that no one likes me. I didn't understand and make the connection that it was anxiety, and it was sort of, I mean, frowned upon to have something that wasn't quite right. And you know, like at the age that I started having anxiety, I think I was like 14, 15. I had been in high school, and you know, like, not a lot of people, I thought, at my age had anxiety or had the symptoms that I was showing towards people. Like, I could be completely happy and then completely angry or sad or excited, or my mood change would just change so fast, and I wasn't even aware of what was really happening or what it was. I remember having fights with my mum, and honestly I want to be open, and I will admit that I have said so many things that I didn't mean, and I have completely trashed my room, I've thrown things around. Yeah, I've done a lot of shitty things. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. Sure, I mean, we're keeping it real. And I'm not going to blame anxiety for it, but anxiety was a huge part of my life all throughout high school. And honestly, I didn't start to realize that up until probably year 13. So up until I was about 17, I realized that something wasn't quite right. And so I ended up sort of going to the doctor, and they, you know, asked me questions like, do I have like all these mood swings? You know, little things like, oh, is my period normal? Do you feel happy? Have you had bad thoughts, negative thoughts or anything? And like, I'm not gonna lie, I have totally experienced all of those things. I've, you know, wake up and I'd stay in bed, and it would just get to me. And in my last year of high school, it really got to me, and a lot of things happened in that year. So I don't actually remember a whole lot of my year 13, but that's just because I want to sort of erase those things. And I mean, they'll always be with me, so I can't really erase them, and they made me the person I am today. But I don't know, it would still be cool to have experienced year 13 and a whole lot differently, but you can't change that, and you know, it's fine, these things happen. But at the same time, I didn't know anyone else who had anxiety, or I didn't even know what anxiety was. I thought it was the same thing as depression. But the difference with anxiety and depression, I think, is that I'm not depressed because I'm not focusing on things in my past that I could change. I'm not thinking that, oh, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, or I wish I did this differently, or, you know, focusing on things that have happened to me, and I'm not dwelling on them. I guess I'm nervous and obviously anxious for things that are to come, or it's more of me overthinking things in my head and, you know, just playing them out, and they're not even real. They might not happen. You know, I was sitting there and thinking, you know, this person doesn't like me, or these people aren't wanting to hang out with me because of this, or, you know, and it's really deteriorating to be fighting with yourself. And I think that's the worst thing, is the constant fight with yourself on, you know, whether you're good enough, whether you should do this, whether you shouldn't do this, whether people actually want to hang out with you, or whether they just feel sorry for you, or, you know, like, it was just honestly a horror. And when I mean horror, like, I have been at my worst, and I have thought some really terrible things, and, you know, like, I am glad that I didn't quite go through with them. I had thought terrible things, and, you know, like, I look back on it today and I'm like, oh, you know, these things that, looking back, tiny, they're small things which shouldn't even matter to me, but during the time, obviously, like, they're like the biggest issue ever, and I just crumble at the fact that, you know, when pressure got to me, I would just crumble, and I could curl up in a ball and I would scream, and honestly, like, I wouldn't be able to move on unless I had fully broken down, and, you know, I'd have to break down in order to get back up. And I know, like, when they say, oh, when you hit rock bottom, you've got nowhere else to go but up. I thought I hit rock bottom a couple of times, but I would always find another time where I would seem to, like, dig further down, and then it would be further rock bottom. And I didn't even know how that was possible. But anyway, fast forward to after high school, I ended up talking to my mum about how I was feeling, because I honestly wouldn't open up to anyone. I didn't talk to a counsellor, I didn't talk to my family about it, I didn't talk to my friends. I didn't think that it was normal, or it was okay to be the way that I was. I thought people would look down on me, and that they would, you know, not want to hang out with me, or not want to do that. But again, that was literally just the anxiety playing up, and that was the battle with myself. So after I eventually talked to my mum about it, she told me that she has experienced anxiety as well, which made it a whole lot easier, because I felt like I could actually relate to someone in a world where I thought that no one, which is ridiculous, but I thought no one else felt the same way. And I think that's the thing, like, I wish I knew that someone else was experiencing it. It would have made it easier, but at the same time, I didn't talk to anyone, so how was I meant to know? It was a little bit of a battle against myself, but yeah, I mean, actually got to a point where I wouldn't hang out with anyone, and my mum made me create a tally on my phone to say the amount of people that I hung out with that week. So I would have to be a minimum of 2 people. 2 people I'd have to ask to hang out and, like, go get coffee or dinner or something, just because I would actually go so long without asking anyone to hang out, or even hang out with anyone. People would ask me to hang out, and I would just make up some dumb reason why I couldn't hang out, and I don't know, that was just me at the time, but it's fine. Like, that actually did help me, making a tally and making a limit on a minimum of the amount of people I needed to hang out with, just so I could push myself out of the comfort zone. I could push myself from my anxiety, and it did help me. It did. But yeah, I went to the doctors, as I said, and they prescribed me to some medication. I'm not that bad at it. I was originally prescribed, well, originally I was prescribed to going to, like, some mental health courses and trying to better myself through, like, meditation and yoga and natural things, and, like, listening to mindful things, and, you know, convincing myself that I'm not anxious. And I mean, obviously that works for a lot of people, because I've heard a lot of good things. So if that works for you, then that's fantastic. And I honestly wish that worked for me, because, like, no one really wants to be on medication, especially for things like this. But you know, sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. And I was put on one citalopram, which is 20 mg, and then everything was fine, but I took a rough turn, and I don't know if I'll include this in the video, but I guess it's good for people to know, maybe. I took a rough turn and I ended up taking a little bit of an advantage of the medication that I was on, and long story short, there was just a lot of things going on in my life. I have like 3 main things that like keep me afloat, you know, like I've got my friends, I've got uni, and I've got my family. And if I'm stressed at uni, I know that I've always got my mum, but then if I have a fight with my mum, then I don't have my friends. But when your friends sort of are in an iffy as well, then that's sort of when everything comes down and crumbles for me. And yeah, long story short, I ended up being knocked out for 15 hours because of that. And so I ended up coming off citalopram because I didn't trust myself, to be honest. I didn't trust myself with the medication anymore. I still didn't want to be the person who was on medication because, you know, I don't know, I assume people would think I was crazy. So yeah, I didn't want to be the person on medication. I came off it because I didn't want to take advantage of it. And then, yeah, I ended up probably for 6 months. I wasn't on it. I was absolutely fine. I got a scholarship to Thailand. I ended up going to Thailand. I made some awesome new friends, heaps of new friends. They were so good to me, and they still are. They're still some of my closest friends. You know, I ended up having my 21st birthday. Everything was absolutely fine. And then it happened again, and I ended up crumbling. And it was when I say that I dug deeper than rock bottom, I dug deeper than rock bottom. And I think that was the hard thing, sort of saying to myself that I thought I had progressed so much without this medication, yet I had actually progressed, I guess, maybe a little bit, 5 steps maybe, and I ended up 100 steps backwards because of it. And so I ended up going to the doctor again. They put me on citalopram once again. They told me that I should never have stopped it. And yeah, so that was my experience. At the end of 2018, unfortunately my dad ended up passing away, so I ended up within myself again, and just thinking terrible things. I was still taking citalopram, but at this point I wasn't taking it consistently because I wasn't worrying about my own health, especially when I was hanging out with my dad for the last couple of weeks of his life. And yeah, I didn't end up taking it properly. Anyway, long story short, again, I ended up, yeah, pretty upset. I didn't want to jump out of bed. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to see anyone. I would, you know what, sometimes I would go out with friends and it would be great, and but I would come home and I would just jump into bed and not want to do anything else. And yeah, so I ended up at the doctor's again, and she actually ended up increasing my the amount that I take to 2 pills of citalopram every day, and I can't stop taking them, otherwise I will fall back into the way that I was. Even if I do try and help myself through other ways, I just seem to fall off and I just can't seem to. So that was to help, yeah, with me and my problems and things around dad. And my dad passed away at the end of nearly the start of my exams, like a couple of weeks before my exams, and when everything else was due. And I don't know, sorry if I'm eating at this point. I just get very nervous talking about these things, and so eating kind of helps me. I'm not gonna lie, I am an emotional eater. I ate a lot after my dad had passed away, and you know, I didn't really know my dad very well. He wasn't a big part of my life, but when he came back into my life and I got those last couple of months with him, if you call it a couple of months, it was like one of the best things that I could ever ask for. And so it was really cool, and I wear his engagement ring around my neck so that I know that he is always here. So yeah, but yeah, so I mean, there's still days where I do get anxious and I look back and, you know, sometimes I do think, I'm like, oh, you know, no one wants to hang out with me, I've got no friends, I've got no this, I've got no that, and, you know, but at the same time, I know that these thoughts aren't real, and it's just me fighting myself. So, and in the end, like, I'm the only one who's going to be losing out on this. Like, other people aren't going to be losing out. I mean, obviously they don't get to hang out with me, so I guess they are, but at the same time, they're not really, I'm losing out more. And so, yeah, I mean, just know that if you have anxiety or if you have anything that's similar, please talk to someone about it, or please go to a doctor, or, you know, you're no less of a person to admit that you've got anxiety, or admit that you have anxious thoughts, or you're not less of a person if you've got medication for it. You know, life is here to be enjoyed, and you should enjoy it even if it is at the hands of medication. And I mean, I'm definitely 100% happier than I was without it. So I would highly recommend that you talk to someone, talk to your doctor, or talk to your friends. You know what, they probably are going through the exact same thing. So yeah, I mean, 2019 is looking very bright. I'm looking super forward to it, and I honestly feel like it's my year. So I'm not going to let anxiety put me back into my box and my comfort zone where it's safe and it's good, but you know, no one's grown from a comfort zone. And so yeah, but cool, thanks for listening to my ramble on my experience with anxiety and this mukbang. I kind of made it through a little bit of my dinner, but I'll just end it all now. But yeah, so thanks for listening to me ramble on. And oh, I also want to say, I found out a lot of people do have anxiety or anxious thoughts or all of this, so just know that you're not alone, and I think that that's one of the main things to get from this video. Okay, cool, so thanks for listening to my story. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you've made it to the end of this video, then thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this has helped you in some way, or you've just grabbed some insight into a little detail into life with anxiety. And you know, there's a lot more things I could say, but some things are better left unsaid. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you guys later.